Spinning, spinning. All righty. We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening if you are across the pond in Georgia's land of love and happiness, London and Great Britain. And who knows, maybe somebody from Italy is listening too. But this is the DARE Method Retirement Rebellion. And I'm here with the founder, creator, the influencer, and Emmy Award winning George Jurgen. How's that one, George? How you doing?
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Much excitement on my part. So today we just thought that we were chatting before the show here for 30 minutes. We just said enough of the sales. By now, you know about the gratitude book. You know about the DARE book, Discovering Your Purpose. You know George's story, how he turned his life around after a almost near-death experience at the age of 52. And you also then realize that he has been promoting his courses, which are phenomenal, his books, which are inspirational, and he has a new book out called Odyssey of an Elder, pardon me. And that is coming out in July, specifically July 8th. And as you know, he is going to, or maybe you don't know, he's going to get it out on July 8th. Me, it would probably be December. But he's ready and he's going to stick to his plan. So instead of doing all of that and trying to sell you on all these exciting things, we thought we would take some of the main points that George espouses and talks about in all of his books and courses and maintains them in his lifestyle that he lives. And that is basically, we'll go with the first one. These are people's biggest fears and how George has created an empowering reality to deal with them. And the first one, George, that I'm going to hit you with, this is not scripted, by the way, folks, is anxiety and how you can turn it into confidence. And you have said in the past that the future feels uncertain for a lot of people, but you can create a stable and secure plan with the right plan. So you could have security and stability with the right plan. And George feels he has that right plan. Am I correct there?
Yes and no.
Beautiful.
Yes, in that you have to have a plan, but I think more so, I think you have to have the right mindset. A lot of us.
So in addition to, you have to have the right mindset.
You do. I think without the right
point you in the positivity direction there, George.
Right.
You're welcome.
I mean,
go ahead.
The mindset is important. I think it's foundational. Positive thinking, everything else, of course, adds on and is immensely helpful. But I think mindset is, let's talk about anxiety for the example that you threw out. What is anxiety? Why do we get anxious? We get anxious because the outcome that we see is not what we want. And how many times has that happened to us? Pretty frequently. The point I'm making is that anxiety is telling you that something's not right. Now, that's an external event happening, but it's impacting you internally. The flip side is that what's happening outside has nothing to do with you. We need to focus on what's happening inside us, right? Now, just to kind of jump out of this for a minute and just bear with me, humor me. Everything that we see outside of us that's not organic and living has been created in somebody's mind. Just take anything from anything around you, table, desk, chairs, glasses, your laptop, your microphone, your camera, our glasses, our clothes, everything outside of us has been created by a human, apart from living organisms. cats, dogs, other humans, that kind of stuff, right? Or vegetables or whatever you want to. So my point is that we have the solution to any anxiety that's happening outside of us. The solution is within. Yes, it's easier said than done, right? It's simple, but it's not easy, because our programming is we're looking for solutions outside of us, whereas the solution is within us. But we feel so disempowered when we were growing up that we don't trust our own intuition. We don't trust our own knowing. We know the answers to what needs to be done, but we're scared shitless to try and trust it because we've been taught to trust what's outside, whether it's our parents when we're growing up, or teachers, or whatever, right? Or the government, or whatever it might be. So let's take anxiety, for example. Anxiety today, economically, politically, the changes that are being thrown at us at a progressively faster pace than ever before. It's enough to make us squirm because we're not programmed to process this kind of stuff that's coming at us. And the anxiety that is produced is intense. And, just like in any emergency situation, if you're not physically and mentally and spiritually fit, it will take you down. And people, I think, who stress themselves to such a level, they can actually exit from this planet because they don't want to take it anymore. They cannot take it anymore. And they cannot conceive of a life different from the one they currently lead. And what's worse is that they think it's going to be much worse and they don't want to face it. And what they don't realize is it doesn't have to be that way. Your mind can alter the reality that you're living in. That's how powerful our mind is. But we have to believe it. If we don't believe it, nobody's going to hold our hand. Nobody's coming to save us. So I hope that answers your question, Rich. If it doesn't, please push away.
No, it's fine. I agree with what you're saying. I mean, as far as digging deeper, mindset is important, whether it's an abundant mindset, a growth mindset, but it's something that helps you. What helped me was developing the idea that to expect the unexpected, and it's not gonna perfectly happen the way I want it to. So I certainly started with that, and that was a real, for me, a lifesaver. And so, as far as anxiety goes, if I realize to expect the unexpected, and I prepare myself, and I think positive, and try to get the positive out of any situation, and of course, there are instances where that's kind of difficult. But in doing that, I really don't get bothered, luckily, by an anxiety much. And when I do, I have to realize what it is. It's unfounded fear, because most of the time, the things you're afraid of don't happen. And God forbid if they do, while you're going through it and get past it, you realize, why was I anxious? Look at that. I think it's predetermined outcomes, and that has to do with how you grow up and the trauma you had as a child, and a young man or woman, and the whole thing. I think that plays a lot into it. And the other thing, George, that I'm finding out about more and more each day is that there is, and I'm going to get it wrong, you probably know the terminology, but what has happened to your family, like your ancestors, can also influence your thinking. And I never really thought about that. And I'll give you a real quick one. My father growing up as a little kid he was a great guy, very outgoing, but he was also scary. Now, he never hit me. He would tell me things like, if I get mad at you, if I ever raise my hands to you, I'll never do it because I'm going to kill you. So that's the hell of a message to tell a kid. And he also, when we would, kids, there were two other siblings that I have. When we would tease each other, well, he would lose it, George. He would stop, no horseplay, and he would like visibly yell and yell and yell. And crazy story, which I didn't really realize into my 50s. 50s, okay? So 50 years I lived not knowing this, is that it was my father and my Aunt Anita, okay, his sister. And I come to find out from my mother and my cousin that they had a sister, okay? And they were playing in their kitchen as kids, and somehow a pot of boiling water fell down and scalded their younger sister to death.
Jesus.
Horseplay, right? Okay. And so that whole thing created, obviously, that was unforgettable. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I didn't know, it wasn't completely confirmed until I was like 58 years old. And so, my goodness, think about that today. If that happened to somebody, they would be in therapy, they would be PTSD, they would be this and that. There were so many different avenues back then. So that, as a kid, my father was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and they watched this occur, and they watched this sibling of theirs pass away in front of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Imagine being part of that. And it's not really clear because everybody passed away, so it's not clear how or who or how that water fell on her. You know what I'm saying? So does that affect me? Yeah, there's a good chance that it does somewhere. Does it affect the family? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's almost kind of generational trauma. No question about that.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is another reason why I'm convinced that even generational trauma can be worked through, because there is love in family. Growing up as a kid, and this is something I talk about, is that we betray ourselves to keep the love of our parents because they're looking after us.
Mm-hmm.
And if they tell you to do something and you cannot bear it, you will do it. You will betray yourself. And in a sense, when you're an adult, you're still carrying that inner child who's been and so, speaking to a therapist, I discovered that actually you need to talk to your own inner child.
Yes.
And tell them that, that's never going to happen again. You're protecting them. And so you almost have to win them over with affection and with security and safety. And that then allows you to open up more from where you were. And so, imagine how every single individual whose parents have been traumatized by one thing or another, passing it down. If you don't resolve it, you pass it down to your kids, and it goes on until somebody chooses to stop it and maneuver. So I think from our audience's perspective, I'd say think about what generational trauma you might have in your family, and it can be anything, right? That is impacting on how you see the world, and how it might even be stopping you from finding the solution that you need to change the way you live. Because one thing's for certain, we cannot outrun change. And we humans, we do not like change, period. Now, what I love about this is that we love to see other people change, right? Other people must change, but wait, no, not me.
If they don't change, then
yeah, I mean, come on, it doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah.
And the point is that, as you were saying, to your point, Rich, you were saying earlier about a growth mindset. right? We are not taught to have a growth mindset. We are taught to have a fixed mindset.
Yes.
This is what is the right thing to do. This is what you must do, and it's for many of us, having a fixed mindset is the default position, and the default position of fixed mindset doesn't allow us to fail forwards. We have to be successful, period. And to be successful means that if there is something that we need to take a leap of faith on, that would be a stupid thing to do, because you need to guarantee the success. Otherwise, you don't want to try it. Well, success, it doesn't work that way. Success works from the position of, I don't know everything, but I'm prepared to learn and I'm prepared to fail forwards. Incrementally. We don't want to take humongous leaps that's going to bite us in the ass financially or any other way. So you need to take small steps forward. And that, at some point, maybe not tomorrow or the day after, but maybe next week or next month, you will reach that destination, that the outcome of which you don't yet know, but you're taking the right steps to go forward. And it's the same in this retirement space, right? You've left a 40-year job, whatever work you've been doing. You don't know what you're going to be doing in retirement, other than drifting. And you don't want to drift. There are issues about, my assets are not going to take me for the next 30 years. So I need to be doing something, but I don't want to do work that kills me or that I hate. I've come too far to be doing work I hate to do. And I get that. So you don't want to be doing 2-3 jobs to supplement income, right? This is where you need to have courage, internal courage, to bring out the authentic you, the real you, the you that's been hiding behind all the masks and facades that we've all created to deal with the world that we've grown to understand. And you need to jettison that and allow the real you, the authentic you, the kind you. That's almost like a relative you're embarrassed to know. That one. That's the one I'm talking about. Right? That's the one that needs to come out, because that's the real you. And that's the real you that that you want to meet now and not start thinking about on your deathbed. So it's almost like retirement is life knocking on your door saying, wake up, man, wake up. This is your last chance saloon to make it right. So,
And that creates your legacy. I mean, you can create your legacy at any time. Legacy is not leaving everybody $1 million.
Legacy is living it.
Living.
You got to live your
living
legacy.
your life on on a life's terms, and all of those expressions. I mean, that started for me in the early 80s, and going on tour with Aerosmith and being exposed to that lifestyle and the debauchery, and it's well documented what the things that we were involved in and did and everything. But it led me to we all got sober and put down drugs and stopped trying to abuse ourselves, and we all basically went to a place called Chit Chat in Warnersville, Pennsylvania, where I first started to really work on the inner child, which is now a term that doesn't really get referenced too much. It's been replaced, but yeah, inner child work was fantastic. And Warnersville, Pennsylvania, we went as a group because we were a family, so we went on the family weekends together, and it was very interesting. There was a priest there called Father Bill, and he was the first guy who said, when it says, Lord, I'm not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed. He was the first guy who said, Lord, I am worthy to receive you, and only say the word and I shall be healed. And so he turned that around and said, no, we are worthy to receive this, because he wanted to stop the cycle of not having enough, not being enough. You know what I'm saying? And so he turned that around. And that for a bunch of us, actually for the whole, we were there with probably a group of 60 people. It really turned things around for me. And I owe him he was quite the character. He was a priest in the Vietnam War, and he used to walk around in the jungle with a bullseye on his back.
Jeez.
Yeah, he had a bullseye on his flak jacket, and he was pretty. He was a big guy. I mean, he looked like he could kick your rear ends, you know.
So the Viet Cong couldn't miss.
Yeah, he says, "Come on, get me." But you know, you talk about turning fear into courage, and the basic question is, what if I run out of money? And basically, the answer is you've overcome challenges before, and you know you could still take control of your finances or any part of your life. You could still basically, you know, chart a course with the help of others and deal with these things. And a lot of times, maybe less is more. There's a, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, there's a
right?
lot of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in that,
Yeah.
Rich. I mean, seriously. First of all, less is more.
Yeah.
We live in a society where constant consumption, we're drowning in constant consumption.
Mm-hmm.
You know, half the things we buy, you know, I mean, not anymore for me, but half the things I used to buy, it's like, why am I buying it?
Yeah.
You know, how many suits do you need? How many shirts do you need? How many, you know? And so the point is that less is more, because it means actually, you know, and also the good thing about less is that you can actually get better quality things because you're not going to buy that many, which makes you feel even better, because now I'm wearing better things. So I feel good because I'm now worthy of having good things, and I don't need that much. But to your point, about the I'm not worthy and I'm worthy, it comes back to the same concept. At least those of us who have a Christian pedigree, the adage, you know, love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the reason people get into problems is they give too much of themselves and keep very little for themselves. And I don't mean financially here. I'm talking about energy, love.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the adage is love your neighbor as yourself. It's not love your neighbor, period. That's a command. Do that. It's love your neighbor as yourself. So my question, again, in the same format, reversing it, is if you don't love yourself, how can you possibly love your neighbor?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, it's unpacking a lot of these things that we've been taught that are untrue. I'll tell you something else which was really funny. When I was on my tour in South Africa, I went to an ostrich farm. And I kid you not, this made me question so many things. I went to an ostrich farm, and you know, we've all heard the saying that, you know, don't be an ostrich, don't put your head in the sand. Right?
Right. Yes.
I mean, literally, I don't think there's any society that doesn't have that concept. And so I asked this guy who's a French Huguenot descendant. You know, these guys, 300 families were expelled from France. I don't know how many centuries ago. They went to South Africa and they opened up vineyards. And from there, they moved to ostriches and everything else. So this guy's been running this ostrich farm for 40 years. And he's driving me in his Jeep on his land. And we're looking at a sort of vast number of ostriches, you know, in a pound grazing. And I said to him, I have a question for you, sir. I said, do you see a lot of ostriches put their heads in the sand? And he burst out laughing. He burst out laughing. He said to me, George, I've been here 40 years. I have never seen an ostrich put its head in the sand. He said, but I can tell you, I've seen a lot of politicians put their heads in the sand. But that made me stop in my tracks and say, how many other things have we been taught as wisdom, knowledge, that actually was untrue, or somebody said it and it sounded good and people started believing it, and then it becomes a form of wisdom. And I'm thinking, I need to look at things and question things, not just accept them just because that's what I've been taught. And in a sense, that leads to this next thing. We've been taught that retirement is something that we do. Well, retirement is a man-made concept. Einstein said that nothing in nature retires. It's either growing or dying. It tells you a lot. I know that back when I did my research on retirement, I think it was Caesar Augustus introduced it.
It's a long time ago, George. Go ahead, Caesar. Huh?
Yeah, but this is my point.
Yeah, that old.
No, it was a long time ago, and then wait for this.
No.
His uncle was assassinated in the Senate, right? Julius Caesar. So this guy is a young man. He's smart. He thinks, I've got to get the Imperial Roman army on side. So he creates a pension fund for them, so they won't plot to assassinate him. And that, he put a great deal of personal funds in there to kickstart it. And for the lives of 2 emperors, that fund grew, immensely, to the point where the Roman Senate started to borrow against it. See some similarities here to the US social security system and to the European social security. Yeah. The government started to borrow against it. Right. History repeats itself. And then within the lives of 2 emperors, it disappeared. The next time we see it coming back up again was at the beginning of the US Civil War in the 1860s, when Lincoln created a pension fund for the army, for the Union Army, to ensure recruitment increased. And after the Civil War, the government had to continue paying so the soldiers wouldn't go around pillaging the civilian population. So it's man-made. And of course, in the 1910s, you live in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah.
The golf courses tripled within a couple of years because the retirees had begun to start playing golf, and they didn't want to see anybody around them working because it made them feel guilty.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing? And here we are now. Here we are now.
But listen, not to interrupt you, but now it's pickleball. Golf courses are, that they're selling down here. There are some places that are selling the condos, but dirt cheap. Okay. But then you have to pay the dues and fees of the golf course, which are expensive as all hell. And actually, golf now is on the downswing. I'm sure we're going to get disputed on that one. But it's actually an actual statistic. People are playing pickleball like crazy. The number 3 most emergency visits down here, number 3, pickleball, behind like heart attack and something else, because you get people that are 60 to 90 years old playing pickleball, and then they start to get competitive and run for something and fall and they break a hip or whatever, God forbid, happens to them. So get a concussion. I've seen that.
I actually have a friend who broke his neck playing that thing.
Oh, yeah, it's a vicious game. I just want to answer something to we got Murray Graham on here, and he's asking our opinion on something that, Murray, I'm going to talk to you about at 1:30, which is almost here at 1:45. It has nothing to do with the retirement and these little persistent. We got a couple of people.
But do you want us to take a stab at it?
No, believe me, no. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. And by the way, someone else asked the question, and I see it again. John Bon Jovi has not passed away, which is really off topic. But since I did work with John, and
well, it might not be off topic. Has he retired?
Well, no, he hasn't even retired. One of the someone like me to Aerosmith passed away, which I'm not passing away either. But it was somebody that was around the band or close to the band passed away, unfortunately, in April of 25 recently. So it's not John Bon Jovi, and the headlines nowadays, just people are having a field day with headlines, and it's I mean, it's however you look at it. It could either be amusing or annoying, but the headlines on all of these social posts are ridiculous. Which brings us to the next thing, which is not ridiculous: loneliness. A lot of people out there, and I know we're always up on what the studies, and one of the studies that talks about baby boomers and their feeling of loneliness, how they could suddenly find themselves alone in their condo, alone in a nursing home, just basically loneliness and having the feeling that no one, they have nobody to talk to. I've dealt with firemen and police officers who retire and they miss the camaraderie, or former athletes that miss the camaraderie of the locker room and all of that. And they get lonely. They severe loneliness. And the bottom line is that, they feel left behind. They feel, really nobody gives a damn about them. Irrelevant. And so your program can help with connection, coming out of your shell, and getting rid of that feeling of loneliness, correct?
Yeah. I think again, it's to do with mindset. Here's the thing about loneliness. Let me take you to a place where being alone is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
So we can counterbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Solitude is a beautiful place to be, but it's one of choice. I choose to be on my own because I like being on my own. And there's a good place to be on your own, because too much socializing too much makes you very dependent on other people's opinions. And that can start playing on you needing their approval to do things. So there's a balance here.
Yeah.
And that's why I think solitude is a good thing. I was never a person who liked solitude. I've grown to like it. Because
good. But
you
you experienced that. You experienced that when you went on the retreat, right?
Correct.
So that's a great story, and yeah.
Well, the retreat, 30 days of silence is, well, the first 3 days was excruciatingly painful. I cannot tell you. It was, I had a nun who was a psychologist, spiritual director, looking after me, and I could only see her once a day for 30 minutes, where I would talk to her about the last day for 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes she would explain to me what my exercise was going to be for the next day. And by the third day, she came in with 2 cups of tea, one for me, one for her. And I said, "Sister Anne, it's so good to see you." And she cracked up. I mean, but it was that good to have that human connection. So I get it about loneliness, but I was able to juxtapose loneliness with solitude. So here's the thing: it's like everything else. It's about being balanced. You don't end up in loneliness by accident. You end up in a place of loneliness by the choices you make or the choices you refuse to make. When your work ends or your job ends, you're a fireman or a CEO. In fact, people higher up the social or economic peg find it even more challenging, right? And above all, doctors find it hugely challenging because they're almost demigods in our society. And so when suddenly they're out of work or they're not working anymore, they plunge into an abyss, which you and I don't. So my point is that loneliness is a choice, that you actually make decisions and you end up there. And the decisions are, your past life is gone. You can't get that back. And it can go in many different ways. But you do have a choice about what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And if you don't make a choice to discover what gives you joy, what kind of work gives you joy, and it might not be what you were doing before. You need to explore. And by exploring, it puts you in with other people. That's how you start to engage. You need to be curious to find out, what is it that gives me joy? What kind of people can I serve? Because that's what it's all about. Who
Mhm.
are you going to serve? And once you get joy and you wanting to work, right, you're mentally engaged, socially engaged, you will not be lonely. At which point you'll be thinking, I also need time for myself. So you need to balance that out. So that's the good loneliness. It's the solitude made out of choice. So it's about making those decisions. Now, remember, we've been programmed. We're expecting people to tell us what to do. Nobody is coming to save us.
Right, right.
As the Hopi Indians say, we are the people we've been waiting for.
Yeah. Be you, everybody else is taken.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
know, I mean that's basically what I put out there. George, you
Believe
were
me, I
worried.
have to tell myself all the
Yeah.
time, to remind myself, this isn't something that
Oh,
you learn once and it's
oh
over.
no, every day.
It's
Every
every day you're having to say this to yourself, right?
it's like a positive brainwash.
Correct. It's exactly what it
It's
is.
a positive brainwash. I do it every day, and when I wake up at 4 in the morning, I'll turn on my own God inspired channel and watch a bunch of videos, watch a bunch of videos, and get my mind right. I like to say that when I love the saying, when you wake up at 3 a.m., it's because God realizes that you have nothing else to do, so He needs to talk to you. And when I adopt that mindset, it's great. And there are some days where I have to catch myself and say, "Wow, you're actually thinking that negative thought. You're actually allowing that negative thought into your head. Well, let's stop it right there." And the other thing that you touched on, and I really have come to believe it's not the one who has all the answers; it's the one who asks the best questions. That's
Absolutely.
really where it's at.
Yeah.
So asking the right, just even asking the question is good, and then if you ask a really good question, well, then the magic happens. So we went 7 minutes over, George, on
Oh
this
dear.
going back and
We
forth
keep
stuff.
doing this.
Seven
We
7 minutes, 7 minutes over. We have a bunch of things to talk about. We will save them for next week. A bunch of questions that I will answer when we get off line. I will thank you, everybody, Al and Murray and Mike. And I'll be specific on the Mike because who the hell's Mike Casella and. He left me a message and then even proceeded to call me. So God bless all of you. I will get back to you and George. One question that it's an easy one. The location of your 30-day retreat.
That was in the Clwyd Valley in North Wales in the UK.
North Wales. My grandmother was from Wales, part Italian and Wales. What do you call it? Isn't that Scottish? No.
No.
It's
Scotland is north, Wales is west.
So I'm gonna tell you that ignorantly, I basically focus on Italy. I know Great Britain and a couple of the other ones, but so Wales is that's the country of Wales.
Yeah, it's a principality. United Kingdom is made of 4 kingdoms:
Oh, okay.
England,
Yeah.
Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Okay. So yeah. So my grandmother, was Wales and Scotland. Yeah, whatever. Okay. She's long since passed. She was a hell of a woman, and tough as an axe. Kept my grandfather in line with the chef. But anyway, so 38 minutes, 8 minutes of overtime. The unions will be sending us our overtime fees here. Any closing comments, George?
Not today. I'm out of questions and out of closes.
Beautiful.
I've said what I had to say.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we will be here next year. We will be here next week. Same bat channel on the Retirement Rebellion and Coach Rich G and the senior guys and all of the other channels you might be watching this on. Please send in your questions and do not forget to follow and join up on the Retirement Rebellion on Instagram. YouTube, Facebook, and X. Just hit one of those and press follow or friend or whatever the heck it is that they call it, and watch some of the videos. George is very entertaining, me not so much. And next week, being treated as irrelevant as opposed to being valued as respected. Financial uncertainty equals financial freedom, and running out of time, change that to it's a new beginning. So we'll be discussing that and more on the Retirement Rebellion Dare Method podcast. George, thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you,
Happy
Rich.
Easter. Happy Easter, Good Friday, and then Easter. And tonight's the night where my hero goes out with the same bunch of guys that he has been doing for centuries, and no one picks the check up, and he gets betrayed. So that's just a little summary of what happens tonight.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, everyone. And see you next week.
Cheers.
Happy Easter. Bye.